Operation and demonstration of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system. Step 1. Position of the patient. Place the patient on the fluoroscopic operation bed in supine position. The injured knee joint should flex at least 90 degrees to 100 degrees for the insertion of the nail. Perform traction reduction for the fracture, and when satisfied, fix it on the orthopedic bed. Step 2. Determine the length and diameter of the nail. Length selection. Place the developing gauge by the side of the tibia, with the proximal side at the nail entrance point and the distal side at the tibial dome. Then directly read out the length. Diameter selection. Place the developing gauge right in front of the tibial and predict the diameter by readings on the developing gauge. Step 3. Determine the nail entrance point. In anteroposterior position, the nail entrance point is on the line between the tibial bone, marrow cavity, and the lateral eminentia intercondylar tubercle. The nail entrance point is at the front edge of tibial plateau. Step 4. Open the cavity and rim. Drill in the 3.2 gauge pin from the nail entrance point and monitor the placement with the fluoroscopy. With right placement, insert the countersink awl into the 3.2 gauge pin. Gently push and rotate to open the tibial bone marrow cavity by about 8 to 10 centimeters. Remove the 3.2 guide pin and countersink awl. Insert the guide pin introducer right through the fracture end under the monitor of fluoroscopy and by manipulative reduction. Fix the ball guide pin with guide pin holder and insert it along the central hole at the bottom of the guide pin introducer until the ball reaching the distal side of the bone marrow cavity. Remove the guide pin holder and the guide pin introducer. Install the software reamer on the drill. And insert the ball guide pin to rim clockwise. Gradually increase the software reamer from 7.5 millimeters. After reaming, remove the software reamer clockwise. Left the ball guide pin unremoved. Step 5. Placement of the nail. Fix the prepared nails of KTO femoral intramedullary nailing system onto the holder with the connecting screw rod and tighten it with the connection screw wrench. Insert the ball guide pin and rotate slightly for the entrance of the nail. After the entrance, keep the direction and directly insert it into. If no key entrance is needed, install nail leg connector on the groove of the holder and tighten it with an open end wrench at first. Then connect it with the slide hammer guide bar and gently knock the nail in with the slide hammer. Remove the leg connector and the ball guide pin. Monitor the placement with a fluoroscopy at last. Step 6. Distal positioning. Install the guide bar on the holder. Fix it with connective guide bar locking screw and tighten it with large L wrench. Then install the distal targeting bracket on the distal side of the guide bar and tighten it. Insert soft tissue separator from the positioning hole on the distal side of the guide bar and cut a 0.5 cm long incision right under the continual insertion until it reaches bone cortex. Remove the soft tissue separator and insert a 5.2 inner sleeve. Drill with 5.2 pin at first. When a small pit showed up on the bone cortex, drill with the 5.2 drill bit. Remove the 5.2 drill bit. Insert spot facing to clean the residues. If noise out metal was heard, it could be confirmed that spot facing had reached the positioning platform. Finally, insert T-positioning rod and install U-fixture block, then positioning finished. Step 7. Distal locking. Insert soft tissue separator and outer sleeve from the most distal locking hole of the distal targeting bracket and make a 0.5 cm long incision right under. Then continue inserting until it reaches bone cortex. Remove the soft tissue separator. Insert 4.0 inner sleeve and 4.0 pin to drill. When a small pit showed up on the bone cortex, drill with 4.0 drill bit. When the first layer of bone cortex were drilled through and the 4.0 drill bit reaches the inner wall of contralateral medullary cavity, adjust the distance between the bone spike on the 4.0 drill bit and 4.0 inner sleeve to about 0.8 cm using an SL wrench to protect the soft tissue of the contralateral skin. Then continue drilling until the contralateral bone cortex is drilled through. Remove the 4.0 drill bit and 4.0 inner sleeve. Keep the outer sleeve being closely contacted with the bone cortex and insert the guide depth gauge to measure the diameter of the bone. Choose the 4.5 locking screw with appropriate length and screw into with the 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver. Remove the 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver and outer sleeve. Examine the placement with the fluoroscopy. If the fluoroscopy is not available, insert the ball guide pin along the central hole at the end of the holder until it passes through the center of the nail of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system and reaches the distal end to detect if the locking screw is at the locked status. Repeat the steps described above to finish the placement of the second locking screw. Remove the distal targeting bracket. The third and fourth 4.5 locking screw could be placed at the front or rear of the nail of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system according to the requirements by the type of the fracture. The operation should be performed as the following. Insert the soft tissue separator and outer sleeve at the front and rear position of the distal end of the guide bar. After a 0.5 cm long incision was made right under, continue inserting the soft tissue separator and outer sleeve until bone cortex is reached. Remove the soft tissue separator. Insert 4.0 inner sleeve and 4.0 pin to drill. When a mole pit showed up on the bone cortex, drill with the 4.0 drill bit. When the first layer of bone cortex is drilled through and the 4.0 drill bit reaches contralateral medullary cavity inner wall, adjust the distance between the ball spike on the 4.0 drill bit and 4.0 inner sleeve to about 0.8 cm using a SL wrench to protect the soft tissue of the contralateral skin. Then continue drilling until the contralateral bone cortex is drilled through. Remove the 5 4.0 inner sleeve and 5 4.0 drill bit. Keep the outer sleeve being closely contacted with the bone cortex and insert the guide depth gauge to measure the diameter of the bone. Choose the 5 4.5 locking screw with appropriate length and screw into with the 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver. Repeat the steps described above to finish the placement of the 4th locking screw. Check the placement with a fluoroscopy. Step 8. Proximal locking. Remove the guide bar. Insert the proximal targeting bracket on the holder. Fix it with proximal targeting bracket locking wheel, and then screw with large L wrench. Insert the outer sleeve and soft tissue separator into the locking hole of the proximal targeting bracket. Made a 0.5 cm long incision at the place where the soft tissue separator contacts with the soft tissue, and then insert the outer sleeve and soft tissue separator until the bone cortex is reached. Remove the soft tissue separator and insert the 5 4.0 inner sleeve and 5 4.0 drill bit to drill. When the first layer of the bone cortex is drilled through and the drill bit reaches the inner wall of the contralateral cortical bone, adjust the distance between the wall spike on the 5 4.0 drill bit and 5 4.0 inner sleeve to about 0.5 cm using an SL wrench to protect the soft tissue of the contralateral skin. Then continue drilling until the contralateral bone cortex is drilled through. Remove the 5 4.0 drill bit and 5 4.0 inner sleeve. Keep the outer sleeve closely contacted with the bone cortex and insert the guide depth gauge to measure the diameter of the bone. Choose the 5 4.5 locking screw with appropriate length and screw into with the 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver. Repeat the steps described above to finish the placement of the 2nd locking screw. Remove the proximal targeting bracket. 3 5 5.0 locking screws could be placed at the proximal end of the nail of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system, according to the requirements by the type of the fracture. The detailed operations are as the following. Install the proximal cancellar's bone targeting bracket on the holder and screw tight with the proximal targeting bracket lock wheel. Insert the cancellous bone screw sleeve combination into the first oblique locking hole. Keep inserting the cancellous bone screw sleeve combination until it reaches the bone cortex. Remove the drill car and insert the 5 3.2 drill bit. When the 5 3.2 drill bit drilled through the first layer of the bone cortex and reaches the inner wall of the contralateral bone cortex, adjust the distance between the ball spike on the 5 3.2 drill bit and the inner sleeve to about 0.5 cm using an SL wrench to protect the soft tissue of the contralateral skin. Then continue drilling until the contralateral bone cortex is drilled through. Remove the 5 3.2 drill bit and the inner sleeve. Keep the outer sleeve closely contacted with the bone cortex and insert the guide depth gauge to measure the diameter of the bone. Choose the 5 5.0 locking screw with appropriate length and screw into with the 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver. Repeat the above steps to finish the placements of the 2nd and the 3rd 5.0 locking screw for the oblique as well as the front and rear positions respectively. Step 9. Placement of end cap. Remove all the non-implementation devices and put the knee joint of the fractured side in flexion position. Install appropriate end cap with top wire holding rod and screw in along the tail of the nail of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system. Counterclockwise at first and then clockwise. Then tight with 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver, but remember not to tighten enough. Compressing at the fracture end. Lock the locking screw at the distal end at first. Install the nail leg connector on the groove of the holder, and then tighten it with an open-end wrench. Connect it with a slide hammer guide bar. Insert the slide hammer into the slide hammer guide bar and apply the force from the distal end to the proximal end. Examine the compression with a fluoroscopy. Fix the locking screw at the proximal end until the compression is finished. Removal of the KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system. Remove the locking screws at the distal and proximal end with a 3.5 hexagonal screwdriver. But remember to keep one locking screw at the proximal end. Remove the end cap with the 3.5T hexagonal screwdriver. Install the nail extractor on the tail end of the nail of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system. Screw tight with an open-end wrench, and then connect it with the slide hammer guide bar. Remove the last locking screw left and extract the nail of KTO Tibial Intramedullary nailing system with the slider hammer.